Welcome to the Cash Flow Project Podcast. Are you looking to better your financial situation by increasing your cash flow? Too busy to hunt for real estate deals or don't know where to start? Then you're in the right spot. Join us as we dive in and talk about investing for cash flow using multifamily real estate.
Welcome to the Cash Flow Project. I'm your host, Matt Callihan with Tri-City Equity Group. With me is Steve Fierros, my co-host. Good morning, Steve.
Hey, good morning, Matt.
And today we're going to have a special guest, David Toupin, on the show. David is a top millennial real estate investor, speaker, and entrepreneur. He's the co-founder of Obsidian Capital, an Austin, Texas-based real estate investment firm. David started investing at the age of 20 in Michigan, where he bought his first property in college. It was a 12-unit apartment complex. Prior to graduating with a finance degree, David had already acquired $7 million in multifamily real estate holdings. By the age of 24 years old, David has built a real estate company as a key principal with over $50 million in real estate holdings and has raised north of $10 million in capital. He's also the creator of the best-selling multifamily deal analyzer, which is now being converted into a web-based software platform called Real Estate Lab. Excited to have David on the show today, so let's get after it.
Yeah, you guys are going to love listening to David's interview. He shares with us a bunch about how to get over your fears and how to take in, small steps, but those are going to lead to the bigger steps and how to get after those goals that you have. And for one, to write goals, but also just to move past your limiting beliefs and really just step in. I mean, he's dove head first. The guy's got a ton of energy. You guys are going to love the show.
I guess we'll start at the beginning and just kind of talk about how you got started, because, a big key to your story is you started way younger than most people and you scale way faster than most people. Do you want to kind of run us through that?
Yeah. It went as expected, I guess, as my goals were. I never actually thought it would scale this quick, though. I just kind of wrote some goals down. I was like, man, I'm going to go for 1,000 apartments and hope for the best. But I started when I was in college. I was 20 years old. First deal, I did some internships and I was studying finance, which, to be honest, I didn't really learn anything from school. I didn't go to class probably 75% of the time, too, because I was building a real estate business. I remember sitting down with every one of my teachers, like my last 2 years of school, and I'd be like, I just want to be, upfront with you and be respectful, but like, I'm probably not going to be in class much because I'm running a business. So it's like, just work with me, help me get through this. But going through that, and I was working all day and going to class all night, and I was just hunting down deals. And I knew the first step I had to do to get into multifamily was to find a deal. And fortunately, I have a financially geared mind. I like numbers. I understood from some of the investment banking firms I worked for and did some consulting. So I kind of understood, the balance sheets, financial statements, income statements, how that worked. And really, apartments, what I found are the simplest form of that. I mean, it's literally just revenue. You don't have to do a full discounted cash flow analysis. It's literally just, what's your revenue from rent? What's your ancillary revenues? What are your operating expenses? And then you hit your NOI, right? And then what's your debt service? So it's just a kind of a couple components. And I got really good at running numbers and looking at deals. And I just did it hundreds of times over and over and over and over. And I got to the point where I found a couple deals that seemed to make sense that started relatively small, 12 units. And so that was kind of the first deal I got into. I got the deal under contract and then thought, shit, I need to find the money because I'm broke. I'm like every other college kid. So that's kind of how I don't want to say stumbled into it because I was pretty focused on it, but that's how I got into my first deal.
Was that in your backyard?
Yeah, I was about 20 minutes from where I grew up. I grew up like Metro Detroit, Michigan. And this deal was like, like a C+ area called Garden City. Yeah. So
how did you come up with the money for that? I think a lot of people kind of get to that point where they're like, I know this is what I want to do. And they kind of do the self-education, but then that's where they stop.
Yeah. The biggest misconception about real estate is you need money personally to get into it. And you really don't. I didn't know exactly how I was going to do it, but I'd heard of syndication a little bit. This is, 2016 before syndication and was like all the, all the jazz. Everyone's talking about it and teaching it and stuff. And so, I'd heard about it and read about it a little bit and figured out that I could raise some, find a sponsor to sign on the loan, first of all, because I couldn't finance a deal myself. I had to find somebody with a high enough net worth. So I had a local guy who flipped a lot of homes, had enough net worth to, qualify for a $400,000 loan, $500,000 loan on those deals. He put up the earnest money. And, I went out and raised for my first 2 deals. They were both 12 units, raised like just under 200,000 each for each of those deals. Structured it where investors got 80% of the ownership and I got 20%. And so I self-managed the deals and, just kind of pounded the pavement, went out to find that money and then put it together, closed and improved the properties a little bit, raised the rents, stuff like that. And, just kind of your typical syndication model.
I would have thought previously that a 12 unit would be a little small to syndicate, but you had success with that, obviously.
Well, I didn't make a lot of money on it, but it was a good start. Yeah, it is certainly small. I wouldn't do it again. But that was how I got in. And I tell a lot of people, like, you don't need to make a ton of money on your first deal. You just need to do something so that you understand how it works. Because for most people, it's very scary. It's like, it's just an unknown, right? You just don't know what you don't know. And so to get into syndication, it scares a lot of people. But starting small, $200,000 right now is like, I just text somebody and I can get $200,000. Before it was, I had to, call 50, 75 people to pull it together. Yeah. But it allowed me to get into bigger deals by starting smaller.
Yeah. We were actually just talking about this the other day. I was doing a Big Island meetup and a lot of the people were kind of asking questions about that. And I agree that you don't really, I would say those first deals, like you said, don't worry too much about what you're getting out of it because you're just building a resume, right? So instead of like, oh yeah, I flip a couple houses here and there, like, oh, I just flipped a 12 unit. I'm under contract on another 12 unit. Like you're just kind of building that credibility at first as you
exactly
deals.
And what's interesting is I didn't really, it wasn't as big as it is now. So I didn't really know how other people did it and whatnot. I'd heard about a couple common structures, but I didn't want to go into scenarios. Now knowing what I know now, I'm glad I did it that way because I held much larger pieces of the deal. And, when I got into the next deal, I did 100 units and I owned like 15% of it outright. And so, rather than going in with these huge groups of 3, 4, or 5 GPs and raising money together, and I started off where it was just me and a sponsor, and I did all the work, and the sponsor signed the loan, and I got a big chunk of that deal. And I did that in the next deal, and so rolling forward, I've never co-GP'd a deal with anyone. It's always been myself and one business partner, myself and another sponsor, and I'm glad I did it that way because I've learned more, I've done more work myself, and retained large pieces of equity in these deals.
Yeah, that's insane because there's 4 of us and I can't imagine one person doing all the work that goes into syndication.
Dude, it's a lot of work, man. I'm doing 6 of them right now. It's fucking crazy.
It's a good problem to have though, right?
It's a good problem to have. Yeah. But it's a lot of work. We're about to hire a transaction coordinator that can do all the transactional work because, I'm coordinating. I have 5 different banks right now buying 6 different deals. One is new construction. The others are new acquisitions. One's a refinance. So it's like, it's so much time into doing the transactional side of things, which is mostly admin, but a lot of it is strategy negotiations when you're under contract on a deal. There's a lot of chess that goes on when you're doing these deals. And so I love that part of it, honestly. That's my favorite part, but it is a lot of work.
Yeah, you have that's great that you're able to focus on that right now. I think that's the challenge for some of us is, because I don't think are you married?
I'm not married. No.
Your family, everything?
I have a girlfriend, but I have a lot of time.
Yeah, no. That's huge that you're actually able to take advantage of that right now. Because I think that's, something that me and our partners, everybody's married, everybody's got kids, and of course like that takes away, you want to be able to prioritize that. And so like, gosh, how many people should be in your position?
That's why I tell a lot of people start young, man. Start young when you don't have all that and you don't have a ton of debt or whatever it is. Like you can get into this without, don't be afraid of being young and doing it.
Yeah.
I love how you started, you're starting small. And most people, when they're going to first start, it's like, okay, I just want to do a small deal. I'll do residential, right? And I'm just going to do, because you hear that really common. Yeah, I just start with my one rental. It was a place that, I lived in and I just turned that into a rental. And you're like, no, it's cool. I'll just start with small. I'm just going to go with 12 unit. It's cool.
Yeah.
Well, so I want to jump
skipped a little bit. I did skip a little bit because I did wholesale for like 3 or 4, 5 months when I first started. And my first goal I ever wrote down was I want 10 rentals by the time I was 25 until I read the 10X rule. And then I jacked that shit up.
Yeah. And while you're there, But I want to jump in something that Steve said about, people get started and kind of, we talk about the house hacking method where they live in their units. Your first, what was 96 unit, you lived in it and self-managed.
I house hacked it.
House hacked 100 units.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that? Like, kind of, what did you learn from self-managing that property? Because that's crazy. You never hear that.
Yeah, to date, still that is. I've done six, 7 deals after that. To date, that's still the number one deal I've ever done because I learned so much.
Yeah,
I bought it. I had to raise $2 million. I was 21. It was not easy. It was the hardest thing I'd had to do. Still to this day, the hardest thing I had to do. And then I jump in and I somehow convinced Freddie Mac to let me self-manage it, which I don't know why they did that. I was managing those other 24 units that I had. And so I convinced him, I was like, it's not that far away. I got this. But I dove right in and I moved on site. And then I had to figure out, like, I'd never had employees really before, never had serious employees. And these are full time. And I had an on-site manager, on-site maintenance. And the first maintenance guy was a drunk and he wasn't doing anything right. He was lying to my face all the time. And I'm a nice guy. I'm really trusting. So I kind of kept him longer than I should. And the manager, I was like, why are rents in this market are $300 over where our current rents are? Why are we not getting rents up? And I had a manager who couldn't do it because she was friends with all the tenants. She'd been working there for 10 years. And I didn't get it. And I was like, you got to push these rents. You got to push these rents. She's like, I just can't get it. And I'm like, you're used to charging $650 when the market is, $850 for a 1-bedroom, and you're used to charging $750 for a 2 when the market is $1,000 or more. And she just couldn't get it. And so fired both of them after a couple months. And I brought in a maintenance guy who actually I sold that property, but to this day still works for me. He moved all the way from Michigan, where that property was, to Texas to continue working for me. Love the dude. He's my best maintenance guy. And I hired another manager who ended up being awful. And she quit in the morning one day, and she just texted me. She's like, hey, I don't know. She's like going back to Ukraine or something weird. I don't know. It was really weird. She was always telling stories. So she quit. And so I was like, okay, I need an on-site manager. So I step in and I start on-site managing for a while. So I've kind of played a lot of different roles. I was leasing units and managed that $500,000 renovation there, which I'd never managed a renovation in my life before. So there's a lot of things I just kind of threw myself into, and I didn't do them perfectly, but I learned a lot from it. And I think that was key. It's like, you just got to try stuff and not be afraid, although maybe a little bit nervous.
Yeah.
Got to jump in, man. And that's how you learn the best, in my opinion.
I heard this the other day, and I think it was Tony Robbins, but it was, don't worry about making the right choice or right decision. Make the decision and then make it right.
Yeah. That's a great saying.
Yeah, for sure. So do you now, as you're scaling, do you still self-manage? No,
God, no.
Yeah.
I'm done with that, man. No more.
You're not complex hacking anymore.
Oh no, definitely not. No more living in C-class apartments for me. But one day we'll bring it back in house. Not yet. I'm like scale mode. I don't want to have management in house. I have 2 business partners who are awesome and who've owned large management companies before, but it's not something I have interest in getting into at the moment.
Yeah,
it holds you back from scaling. At first, at least, I think, having a couple thousand units, then we'll bring it in house. But right now, I'm just focusing on finding new deals, buying them.
Yeah. So on a smaller scale, is there a number of units that you'd recommend? Like, now is the time that you need to do third-party management to work on other aspects of the business.
Like a single deal, you're saying, or what? Like, at what point would you bring it in house?
Well, in house is going to be a pretty advanced, right, vertically integrated company. But versus you living in it where you're managing all of the work, you're checking in, you're collecting rents versus hiring third-party management or even an on-site manager.
Well, to be honest, the 12 unit, both of those were harder to manage than the 96 units that I had, because the 96 I had full-time on-site staff. And so I had a leasing agent, or the manager, on-site manager, leased the units, did all the paperwork, the admin, collected the mail, collected rents, put it into the software. I had a back-end accountant that would do the books, and then I would just review everything, make sure we were on track, right? Make decisions. Maintenance guy, he did his thing. They hired general contractors. They would run things by me if it was like large expenses. The 12 units, I had to have I had hired an assistant at the time, which was at that point, it was far before I really needed to hire an assistant and pay somebody like $45,000 a year. But she was doing other things for me and then also leasing units and doing a little bit of the bookkeeping and management. And she wasn't really specialized in that area. So, because it's 12 units, it's hard to manage that. I can't have a full-time maintenance person. So I have to have, independent contractors, which are contacted each time something comes up. I didn't have enough scale to bring, to have like a full-time for that property. So the 96 units was easier because I had the on-site staff, I didn't have to worry as much.
We tell people that all the time, like the economies of scale and multifamily, go as big as you can, as fast as you can. Managing, I've got 15 single family homes or whatever. Like that's a lot of work. One building with 50 tenants in it, not as much. Not as much,
man. Managing the 100 units was definitely easier than the 24. And I think it's definitely easier than a couple single family homes.
Yeah,
for sure. So it's just a different system.
Yeah. So I want to jump around here.
Yeah, it's just super impressive to jump in and not have to. I was going to ask, I was thinking about it as you're talking. I'm like, man, where did you get that from? Did you come from like a family that was, involved in real estate at all? Or like, family, we have a long history of, apartment owning.
Fourth generation apartment owners. No, not at all. My dad was a dentist. And so I actually went into college for my first year. I was like pre-dental. And decided, that wasn't really for me. I'm a business guy. I started my first business when I was 13, and that was a landscaping company. So I've always been an entrepreneur. It's kind of in my blood, I feel like, at this point. I'm really passionate about it. I'm passionate about helping other people be great entrepreneurs and start businesses and thrive in business. And so I think I've started 4 successful companies at this point and probably a dozen non-successful companies. So, I've got experience doing the right and doing the wrong. So
it's good that it didn't discourage you.
No, never, man. Never.
Work on to the next one.
Yeah, life's too short to get hung up over a loss. I mean, there's just no point in that, in my mind. Like my L's are, dude, I own that. I mean, that's what drives me, because every time I mess something up, I'm like, I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to get it right. So for me, it drives the shit out of me.
So I remember what I was going to say earlier, talking about kind of finding deals, and you got started wholesaling to kind of learn the business. You've had some success finding like off-market multifamily through some of the same tactics wholesalers use, cold calling and sending out mailers. Kind of run us through how you find a lot of your deals and what you've had success with.
So the best deals I've ever done I would say 60 to 70% of the deals I've done are off-market, whether from a broker or a mailer or a cold call. And so our acquisition system consists of myself and my business partners, our relationships with brokers. We get a lot of on-market deals, and then we get a lot of off-market deals. And the off-market ones, they're really the ones that we want. We have a team of 10 people that are consistently making cold calls to owners. I have a setup with them where we get on a call once a week. I give them a little bit of coaching, and they go to town every week making 50 to 100 calls each, direct to owners. I pull the list from CoStar and provide them to those guys and girls so that they can go dial for dollars. And if they find a deal which we successfully buy, I'm going to bring them in on the equity. That's kind of our structure, and give them a piece of the fee. So that's like, they put in minimal 3-4 hours a week, maybe they put in, and they have the opportunity to get into multifamily if they find a deal. And so we've made like 5,000-6,000 calls and got a couple of really good leads there.
How many markets are you doing that in?
I've got probably 8 different markets.
Okay. I was going to say, we just did something very similar to that, but did not have success.
Yeah, it takes a lot of time. I mean, because it's a relationship and timing. Like you might call somebody in January and they're not ready to sell, and then you call them in June and they've got another asset they want to buy, so they've got to sell this to 1031s. So it's like
Well, 8 markets, and then I'm sure your criteria is quite large. Like you can handle much bigger deals. So
exactly.
Pool of deals that you can call on even is pretty large.
Big pool, exactly. Yeah. So and then we send mailers. So I'd show you, it's right over there. I got a big mailing machine, and it stuffs mailers, and so we send out like 500 a week to different owners when we're in acquisitions mode. So a couple of different ways, that we attack. But
yeah,
did you pick up some of that? Did you retain some of that, like from wholesale? It doesn't sound like you did it very long, but obviously, you learned some basic tools there. And
I didn't do it long, but right? No, you're right. You're absolutely right. I did it enough to figure all those tricks and the marketing and the mailing and the cold calling, door knocking type of stuff, and brought that over to the multifamily side. And I've done two deals now through mailers that have netted me over $1.5 million in profit. And so it's mailing's a thing. Mailing's a good thing.
Do you like letters or postcards?
We just send letters. We got those. We have those envelopes with the windows in them, so we just print them with the address. We don't have to write the address or anything. And then it's just a professional letterhead, like, "Hey, I buy apartments. I see you own ABC property. I'm interested in making you an offer. If you want to hear it, give me a call and we'll talk about it." It's very simple. I don't switch it up much. I probably should do like A/B testing and different envelopes and different. I'm not the marketing guy, so I don't get too crazy into it, but it's worth.
Hey, if that's obviously netted you a couple of deals there, and profitable, sounds like. So
yeah.
That's great.
That's how you found the first big 96 unit, right?
It is, yeah.
And
that's the first.
Turned into like a lasting business relationship for you.
It has, yeah. That guy that I bought it from became a mentor of mine. He's like over 70 years old, and we just got along well. And he sold it to me at a huge discount. And so he sold it to me for $4.2 million. He probably could have gotten $5 million for it. And so it was. I asked him after we finally met. We sat down and got lunch after I closed on that deal. I was like, "Why'd you sell it to me for that price? You didn't have to do that." He's like, "Dave, I didn't really need the extra couple $100,000. I just liked you." And so, it's one of those things. I mean, the guy owned over $1 billion in real estate, so it was pennies to him, but to me, it meant the world.
Yeah, that's the importance of like relationship, right? Finding somebody. I mean, that's hugely fortuitous, but I mean, that took your effort to be out there mixing it up and being willing to have that conversation. You probably caught this guy. He's like, "Hey, you know what? Like, I don't need the money necessarily, right? Like, I feel like at that stage of life and just studying stages of life, like you want to pass on information. So you're filling a need for him, right? Yep. And him mentoring you. And you're obviously, being able to take it and run with it. He probably loves your energy. I love your energy, man. You're just sitting here. I'm excited. I want to go out and find a deal.
Yeah, let's do a deal, man. I love it. Yeah. Let's do it. Yeah, no, it's very true. People, I've really realized that is people that have been in this business for a long time or they're older, they do like passing the torch a little bit. A lot of them. So
yeah, I feel like being in this space, that's the one thing I think I've seen, and especially doing the podcast, and I'm sure you've seen it too. It's like people are really, I feel like people on the multifamily space realize it's a total team effort. It's a team game, team sport, and
there's enough for everybody.
There's enough for everybody for sure. And then they realize, hey, I can't go it alone, right? I know partnerships are absolutely vital, and so I feel like people are willing to share what they've gained, the knowledge that they have, the wisdom that they have. They're more willing to share than I feel like kind of the normal, like no, mine. I can't share it with you because then now you're going to do, better or whatever. It's like a really kind of a limited mindset. And people, I feel like in the multifamily space, I don't see that as much. I feel like people are much more willing to share.
Abundance, man. Abundance. Yeah. I agree.
I know that you do some investing there in Austin as well, and kind of the progression of the deals that you participate in. You're doing some new construction now, right? What's that like? And is that near Tesla? Is it near Tesla?
It's not. It's on the other side of the city, but everything. I mean, when people start hearing stuff like that about Austin, like Tesla's coming and Apple's putting another $1 billion into a campus. I mean, the whole city just is exploding. It's crazy the type of growth you see here.
Cost-wise, though, new construction versus buying, pre-existing. What's that look like in Austin, Texas? And then when you hear news like that, Tesla, Apple.
Yeah. It makes really so much more sense to build here. I can't find anything to buy that makes remotely any sense unless I'm going in with investors that don't care about short-term profits and are really like 10, 15 year minded that are like, hey, we're betting on big appreciation in this market, which I think is a smart play. It's just hard to find money for in this market. It's hard to find money for that in any market, but it's a smart play here. So we're seeing 70s and 80s, C-class properties here. And a lot of properties in Austin have small units. They're like 400 to 700 square feet. There's not like a lot of big square footage units. And those properties are trading for 110 to 150 a door.
Wow.
Yeah. And the rents are higher, yes, but they don't justify. I mean, we're talking 4 caps on everything, 4 to 5 caps. I mean,
C-class properties.
Yeah, it's stupid.
Yeah.
is so stupid. And so I can't find anything to buy that makes sense on the market. And we're looking off market stuff. And I'm sure we'll find something. Most of the stuff we buy anyways is like Dallas, Fort Worth, which is a little more affordable.
Sure.
Well, because Austin is so condensed, for one, and it's just not a big city that's experienced a ton of growth. I mean, I grew up in San Antonio, so I've seen it for a long time. Haven't lived in Texas in over a decade, but
it's getting pretty big. I think there's about 1.2 million population now. So it's
which is crazy. Yeah,
insane.
That's crazy.
20 years ago, it was a third of that. I don't even know if it was over 500,000 20 years ago. I mean, it's just tripled. It's insane. And so the new development, we're building brand new. I'm building 50 apartments, and I've got two more. We got 150 and then an 84 unit that we're building. But the 50 we just broke ground on, and that we're building all in for about 135 a unit. And so when I'm building brand new for the same or less than some of this 80s stuff, man. And I mean, 2000 product, 2010, you're buying for 200 to 250 a door, and brand new, you're buying for 250 to 300 a door if it's in any sort of a good area. I mean, it just makes no sense to buy existing, and it makes so much sense to build new.
Well, that's a transition for you, right? Like, does that like switching into new construction?
I know nothing about. I mean, I know something now, but I knew nothing about new construction. It was very new to me. So, we got a GC lined up, and we bought the land cash a year ago, which was good because we didn't have really any holding costs besides some taxes, which are like $12,000 a year. And so we got it entitled. It took about a year, entitled and financed, and we just closed on that loan like a week and a half ago, and broke ground. So it's like a mile.
That just happened.
Oh, wow. just happened. Yeah, and it's like under 2 miles from my house, and my business partners both live within 10 minutes of it. So we're all very close, which is nice. So we'll be able to keep a close eye on it.
So I was going to ask, as far as carrying costs, like, one, how long does it take to build a 50 unit? And then two, you guys bought the land cash. What other carrying costs do you have until this thing starts bringing in, money from renters? Or you just financing it as you go? You said you financed and closed on that loan. So kind of what are the different things that you underwrite or take into consideration with a new construction? But that's something that's interested me as well.
Yeah. So we put up about $750,000 to buy the land with me and my partner and the GC, actually, who's a good friend of ours. He does all our apartment renovations in Texas for years. And we bought the land, got it entitled. We spent, it was probably like $500 for the land and a couple $100,000 to get it, entitled, and architecturals and engineering and all that kind of stuff. Carrying costs really at that point are just taxes. There's no utilities. There might be some like annual city fees and stuff like that, but you don't have insurance on vacant land. So carrying costs are very low. And we didn't pay ourselves any type of interest or anything for that period. We just kind of underwrote it as like, once we close on the loan, we'll get our money back for the land. We'll put some more money back into the deal. So we didn't keep $750,000 in the deal. We put a couple hundred in. So we got quite a bit of our money back. And then now all the investors, we raised like $2.5 million, and all the investors and us, we get 7% preferred return up until the point that construction's finished. Then that drops off and it just goes to a straight 80-20 split. If we can refinance 100% of investors' capital out after we finish building it, we lease it up, we refi, it actually goes from 80-20 to just a straight 60-40 split. So we'll have 40% outright of the property if we get all their money back.
So that'll be a long-term hold for you then.
Yeah, 10 plus years. Yeah.
Okay.
I want to hold everything we build here just forever because I know Austin's going up and up and up and up and up.
Yeah.
Growth there. It's just nuts.
It's nuts.
Did you find most of your, like, let's say, obviously you guys are in different markets. Did you find, like, let's say capital specifically for that deal? Because even like a lot of local people there, like, no, man, there's a ton of growth in Austin happening. Did you find most of your money there locally, or is this just coming from different areas, different markets?
All over the country. Our investors are all over.
Okay.
And so, I think, and we raised it all during COVID. We started raising in March. And so we raised, I felt pretty good about that. We successfully raised during that. I just think a lot of people feel strong about this market here and new development. And so I wouldn't develop in a lot of, I wouldn't build some new stuff in a lot of markets, but there's some that I would specifically go to, and especially here because it's right in our backyard and it's booming.
Yeah. Speaking about new development in your own backyard, you're currently, you've broke ground on a new headquarters building, right?
Yeah, we're building a little corporate HQ for the company as well. It's about 3,500 square feet. It's a mile in the other direction from my house. So it's very close to where I live as well. And that should be done by December. So really excited to get into that. And I've been working from home for like 3 years now. So I'm like, man, we need an office. So me and my partners were building that, and it's bigger than what we need for our company right now, but we'll lease out a couple extra offices, kind of we work it for a bit. That'll pay some of the costs, and then we'll grow into each office as we grow.
Nice.
Well, so I think another thing that's interesting about kind of you and the way that you do business, speaking of that, is you're for 25-year-old guy who's making some serious money. You're pretty frugal. You're not about like buying all the flashy things. You lived in the 96 unit, like most people would think. I own 96 apartments plus the other 24. Like, I've arrived. I'm gonna treat myself. Do you kind of have a different viewpoint on that?
Yeah, I mean, right now I live in a 4-bed, 2-bath house, like 25 minutes outside of downtown, and I have 3 roommates, so I pay $600 a month in rent. I own, like, my car is free and clear. The Wave Runners, bottom, just cash. Like, I just don't like that personal debt. I'm buying up my first home now, actually, and I'm financing part of it, but I'm putting a lot down just because I don't like a lot of overhead. Overhead to me is like, when I first started in real estate, I had a 2,000 square foot office. I had an assistant, I had an acquisitions guy, and I was spending more money than I was making, like, every month. Like, I didn't have enough recurring revenue to cover it all. And I just realized, I was like, man, I'm bleeding. I got $100,000 acquisition fee on my first deal, or that first big deal, and I blew through it. I only took like 10 of it personally. I put the rest in the business, and then I blew through that in like a year. I was like, dude, it makes 0 sense. What am I doing? And so, it took the next couple of years. I work from home. I cut a lot of that out. We have employees now, but we can support it. And I like to, I think some of the greatest advice I ever got was, as your income goes up, don't level up your spending. You shouldn't be spending ahead of yourself. And so you see all these kids go out and make their first 50 grand and they go buy a Lamborghini. It's like, when I got to the point where I could buy a Lamborghini cash, I went and bought my first sports car, but I bought a $45,000 Corvette. And I was like, this is cool. I still enjoy it. This is fast. This is fun. It looks cool, but I don't need a Lamborghini yet. I want one. I'm going to wait.
Yeah. Do you
what kind of vet did you get? Sorry, I want to ask him about it.
No, yeah, I got a 2014. Z51.
Okay.
But I just ordered a new one. I don't know if you're a Corvette fan. I just put an order for the new 2021 C8.
Dude, looks so sharp.
Oh dude, man, decked out. Yeah, it's awesome.
I told my wife, I'm like, I know this is a 2-seater and we can't fit 2 car seats in this thing. But look at this thing. This thing looks awesome.
Oh, it's sexy. Yeah, it's a good looking car. So I don't know when it'll show up. They're behind on
Austin. And Austin is a car city, man. I've spent many years there in the car scene. They got some awesome cars cruising around.
They do. Yeah, it's a cool place to be. So I'm excited for that.
I lost it, Steve. Corvette.
Sorry, buddy.
That's all right.
He's losing it today.
Can't do that.
I love that, David.
This is every time.
Yeah.
I love that, David. I love you just jumping in, man. And then like that, like that's awesome advice. You're right. You're totally right. Like, people outspend kind of what they're earning.
That's tough.
It puts people under. You hear these stories of all these entrepreneurs that are like, they're at the top and they have these huge swings up and then they go bankrupt and then they go all the way up to the top again. Then they go bankrupt. And it's like, why do you have to do that? Just take your time and do this. Play a long-term game and keep your personal expenses low, and you'll never have to go through that BS. Like, I think it's just something you could totally avoid if you're smart.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you said that, because it brought me back to it. Personal question you don't have to answer, but do you have like a number in mind where you're gonna like, hey, that's it, I'm going completely passive as an investor, and I'm just gonna live my life?
No, never. I'll never go passive. Yeah.
No.
I love this business so much, dude. I'm a junkie. It's like, what do they call it? Is that like dopamine? Right. I feel like doing deals gets me high. It's like, it's such a fun thing for me. And so I'll always do it actively in some form, but we're going for billions.
Nice. Well, you're in the right market, man. That's a fast moving market. A lot of money flowing through there. A lot of growth potential there. That's awesome.
I agree.
Yeah.
So a lot of our listeners are kind of people who are just getting into real estate or thinking about it, or high income earners that don't have more money than time, and they're kind of looking at dabbling in real estate. super important to get efficient at underwriting. You have a deal analyzer that you've now turned into a software. You're about to launch that, right?
Yeah, I am. Yeah. So that's culmination of a couple of years of, I built out that spreadsheet, started about 4.5 years ago. And I started selling it. Like, I didn't mean to, I was just using it for myself. And somebody's like, hey, can I buy that from you? And I was like, well, I don't know. I mean, sure, if you want to.
Yeah.
Maybe $100 or something. And so I put it on my website for $250 and, I have a free one too. People go download, and I've sold like word of mouth, $100,000 worth of this spreadsheet in a year and a half.
Wow.
Awesome.
And I'm like, what? Like, that shouldn't happen. People must need a product for like this, right? And there's a couple other people that sell them, and I don't think they're very good, to be honest with you. But, I think the key in general for me getting into this was that Excel is not the solution. There are so many people that don't get into this industry because they're intimidated by that, right? And the spreadsheets and the numbers, and this is a financial game. Oh my gosh, yeah. It's like, what happens if you make it? I see people all the time. They send me back a spreadsheet. They're like, hey, did I do this right? And I'm like, dude, you deleted half the equations. What are you doing? Like, fill in the blue cells. Don't touch anything else. And they end up doing it. And so, and I don't like locking it, because then you get all the people that are sophisticated that are like, hey, dude, unlock this for me. Like, I want to see where this is pulling from. And I'm like, okay. So Excel for me was never the end game solution. The solution is software, because you can do so much more with software. So I want to, I'm in the process of it. So I'm building the software, which is going to be a full suite acquisition software, start to finish. You can track all your deals that you're looking at on a map. It's going to look awesome. You go into the deal page for each deal. It'll track all the documents pertaining to that deal. So you're not having to use Dropbox, which is like what I use now. And then you'll fully be able to analyze the deal start to finish, multiple different scenarios, a lot of different, you don't want to syndicate it versus if you're buying on your own, you could there's a lot of different functions for it, videos, tutorials that I'll walk you through how to do it to make it easy for people. You'll be able to upload a rent roll on a T12. It'll automatically read the rent roll, pull the unit mix out, how many of each unit type. It'll recognize that for you automatically. It'll walk you through a little wizard. And then you'll be able to do the same thing with the T12. Maybe there's unnecessary rows. You just delete it, and then it walks you through this wizard to parse the T12, standardize it, and it'll even annualize it for you if it's only a partial, set of 4, 5, 6, 7 months. It'll turn it into an annualized set of numbers, and then it'll take all that data, put it right into the analyzer for you. You make a couple of inputs, and boom, you're done. And so
do we give you our credit card now, or is it just no?
Absolutely, yeah. Oh yeah, after the show. So you'll be able to send LOIs. Like, there's a lot of cool stuff that it's going to do. It's going to be full acquisition start to finish, right? I'm not doing asset management or property management. I'm like not raising money through it. It's just acquisitions. And so it's $200 a month is my goal, and it's going to launch late Q1 2021.
That sounds very reasonable.
I think so. I pay $1,400 a month for CoStar. So
yeah. Yeah,
I feel like it's not bad.
Something like that, like $4,000 a year for Rihanna. Is what we use.
Is that what you guys? Yeah. How do you like that?
I don't touch it. I'm not that guy as our team, but from what I can tell, we like it. I mean, we're able to send mailers out from that, and again,
nice. They're not cheap, right? They sell $4,000 a year. You're paying $400, $350 a month.
Yeah.
So I hope eventually I'll provide rental comp data and operating. We'll be able to say like, hey, we've got the X amount of T12s that have come in for Dallas, for example, and you're looking at a deal in Dallas, 150 units built in the 70s. We'll take our data from 70s properties in that size range in Dallas, and we'll say, hey, use this set of operating expenses because this is what the market is. We'll be able to provide that kind of data, and you can't do that in Excel.
When is this coming out? That sounds like something we could use.
Yeah, end of first quarter next year. So 2021, probably March is the goal.
Perfect.
It's being built right now.
That might be when this podcast comes out. I'm not quite sure yet.
Sweet. Perfect timing.
Yeah, we've got a lot.
You got a backlog. You got a lot done. That's good.
Yeah, we're trying to. So what I want to do, I told you we'd honor your time. I could sit here literally and talk all day because it's just kind of
David's a cool guy, man. I love this energy, man. This is awesome.
Keep good energy, man. I love
we're gonna roll into a fire round here. I'm just gonna shoot you off a couple questions. So first question, what's the best book that you recommend other than Rich Dad Poor Dad?
Maintenance Man to Millionaire. My business partner, Glenn, wrote it. And although he's a humble guy, we kind of had to push him into choosing that title. He started as a maintenance man in apartments, and he's been in the industry for about 40 years. And he bought a portfolio of about 4,500 units over the last decade out of a bankruptcy in 2008. And he's just got an incredible story. He's my greatest mentor, the most humble guy, extremely intelligent in apartments. And he wrote a great book called Maintenance Man to Millionaire. Check it out. It's on Amazon.
Yeah, good plug. We will. What is your superpower?
Putting deals together. Like I said, I'm a deal junkie. So from running the numbers to negotiating the deal to getting it closed and lining up the financing and investors. That's what I do.
I mean, that's a great superpower for someone in multifamily real estate. What are your hobbies?
I love going out on the lake. I do like cars. I like hanging out with my girlfriend, hanging out with friends, just getting out hiking, being outdoors, exercising, stuff like that.
At Lake Travis?
Lake Travis, yeah. I'm out there all the time.
Are you a lake or a beach guy?
I'm a lake guy. I mean, I like both, but lakes are my favorite, like wakeboarding and tubing and going out and just hanging out with friends and stuff. That's the best.
No, I totally think I agree with you. People are shocked to hear that, like living in Hawaii, but generally there's probably no sharks in Lake Travis.
Yeah.
Here, but
that's the thing. I don't like swimming in the ocean a bunch. So
yeah, I don't tubing in the Guadalupe. I miss tubing in the Guadalupe.
Is that by San Antonio?
Yeah, it's San Marcos. Like it's close to you.
Oh, that's okay. I've heard about that. I've never done it yet. I got to do that.
Oh yeah. There you go.
I think I've seen that. Hawaii is the first place where I've Mexico, but like comfortably swam in the water, because if I can't see the bottom, forget about it. Like,
you don't like it? Okay.
Swimming pool without lights on, like at night.
Oh, yeah.
So like getting in, Florida water. I get some clear water in Florida, but for the most part, like.
You got to go to Fiji, man. You're not too far from Fiji, are you?
Fiji?
I think it's still a ways, but it's just a few hours, especially compared to Texas.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like 11 hours from LA, so it's probably half that from where you guys are.
Yeah, that sounds
right. I think it's still like 7-8 hours,
yeah.
Okay, so speaking of Fiji, what is your favorite travel destination? Is it Fiji?
So far it's been Fiji. Yeah, Fiji's awesome. I love it. Yeah, okay. I went there couple months ago, earlier this year, right when COVID hit. Actually, is like nobody had a mask on the plane, but COVID was around, so it was like the first 2 weeks, and everyone was like, "Dude, what are you doing while you travel?" And I was like, "I don't know, I'm just living life, man. Just having fun." And so it was awesome. Fiji's beautiful.
I bet. We're actually here in Hawaii. We're on another lockdown, so like they locked us down. They closed everything except non-essential businesses. We opened back up, the numbers started to climb, and now we're locked down.
Like what? Like you can't go to the beach? Like everything?
Stay at home order. Nope.
Yeah.
Public beaches, they're closed. Beach parks are closed.
They're writing tickets.
Dude, I couldn't do that. I'd be out because I've been on like 50 flights since COVID started, and I've seen there's so many people. Even my parents talk to me like, "Why are you traveling? Why are you doing this?" I'm just like, you can't let this hold you back, man. We're having our best year in business yet. I've traveled probably more than I've ever traveled this year. Like you just can't. I just don't think you can let something like that. It's just fear.
Yeah. Totally.
I don't know.
Totally.
Maybe I'm stupid. Who knows?
No, I think I agree with you. I think we agree with you. But that's kind of the local sentiment.
It's controversial.
Yeah. It is.
Yes. Very, very.
But I'm kind of the same way. Like I'm not going to go out and intentionally get it, like these people that are doing COVID parties. But I almost wish I could get over it, and like
get your immunity to it.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm trying out for a job next month in the military, and like I'm just walking on eggshells. Like if I get this close to then, I cannot go, and who knows when I'm going to get the opportunity. So like if I just had it at this point, it would not be good for me to get it. I have to do.
Yeah, not right now. You don't want it right now.
Speaking of traveling, you're saving for a jet. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not gonna start with a jet, but I'm gonna get like a little 4 or 6 seater plane. I'm actually got right after this. I'm going to my first pilot's training. I want to get my pilot's license. Yeah, I'm gonna fly it myself. I'll never. I don't know, unless I like really love it. I don't think I'll go and get my license to be able to fly jets. That's pretty extensive, but like little planes for now. And I'll get something, something small, like $200,000-$300,000 plane that I could at least hit like Dallas and Houston and San Antonio type of thing, real quick, because we look at so many deals. I can't go to Dallas and I can't go to Houston the same day. I mean, it takes so long to drive. And I've got a buddy who's got a jet. He's got a Citation And we look at some deals to just one of my investors, and we look at deals together. And sometimes he'll fly out here to Austin, he'll pick me up, and we'll go hit, like one day we literally hit Dallas, San Antonio, and Houston in one day, and we toured like 1,500 apartments. I was like, dude, I need to play because I'm gonna buy more deals.
I was gonna say,
awesome.
if you make it out here to Hawaii in the next couple months, one of our partners, Vince, has his own plane.
Oh, nice.
For that exact thing, we've been supposed to fly over to Maui to see Brandon Turner. He wanted to go up in a ride.
Oh, nice. That's so cool.
Yeah, he's got a Piper Warrior, so it's a little four or five seater.
Okay.
Same thing, like he island hops all the time.
Probably not what you need though to get to Dallas, San Antonio, and Houston.
Is his a jet or is it a?
No.
It's
a prop.
Okay.
It's a prop.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I'll be getting. I'll get like a single
totally
prop or a dual prop plane. Nothing crazy.
Yeah, that's exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah, Piper. Yeah.
He does or his intent is to do the same thing. Because I think he probably won't take it back to the mainland when he moves, but he'll get another one.
Well, you can't even fly that.
You can't fly that
because it's like 2,500 miles to Hawaii, and those things only go like 1,000 miles.
Yeah, you would have to disassemble it and just put it on a boat. It would be
that's right. Okay,
we're gonna need some in-air fueling.
Some in-air fueling. You come up and that'd be great.
Yeah. So he'll likely just buy another one. But same concept though. He was planning, Tennessee to be able to hop around to go see properties and just different markets much faster than driving.
You might as well.
Make it out to Hawaii and we can hook that up.
Would love to, man.
We'll come visit you and then we'll fly in yours.
Yeah, so if it's locked down there, it's gonna be hard for me to make it. But when it opens up,
now,
I'll be out.
No tourism right now.
No, geez.
So the catch though to the beaches being closed is you can go straight to the water. So you could go surf or paddleboard or snorkel if you sit down.
You can't chill on the beach.
So speaking of controversial, like people here like just not some of the things you can't do totally contradict each other.
That's all of it. I mean, it's like, dude, why am I wearing a mask to go to a table to sit down in a restaurant when I'm walking past people without masks on, like that are sitting down? I don't know. Just maybe I have a different view on this, and maybe I'll get sick and die, and everyone will be like, "I told you so." But I just don't buy it. I think it's a little dumb. Who knows?
Agreed.
All right. Well, so as we close up here, last question: do you have any requests of our audience, and how can people reach out to you?
Requests. I mean, I request that everyone take your life seriously, take your money seriously, take your health, wealth, and wellness very seriously. Right? You only get one life, so you might as well do it hard and do it big. And don't hold anything back. Don't let a little bit of fear stop you from getting in and doing your first deal. It's not as scary as you think. And once you do that first one, you're going to look back and say, it's not as scary as I thought it was. It's very simple, actually. And so the way to get over that, start a little smaller, do something 12 to 40 units, get your first deal done, then go bigger. But you just got to get that first one done, get your feet wet, and get over that fear.
And then how can people reach out to you if they kind of just want to follow along with what you're doing, or want to do any work with you in your company, or just kind of reach out for more questions?
Yeah, best way is Instagram. Hit me up. My tag is Real Estate Jedi. Search me up, shoot me a DM. I'll typically get back to you pretty quick there. You can look at my website. It's www.obsidiancapitalco.com.
Yeah, it's true. He will. That's how we set up this podcast, Instagram.
Oh, sweet. As I saw Steve smiling there.
I just think it's cool. You're like Real Estate Jedi. I love that. He's like, no.
Star Wars, man.
Not a Padawan, not Real Estate Padawan. I'm a Real Estate friggin' Jedi.
Bro. Jedi master. Yeah.
All right, David. Well, it's been a pleasure having you on the show, and we enjoyed talking to you. Man, maybe we'll do this again in the future.
Would love it. Thank you guys for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Appreciate it, David. Thanks.
Yep.
Wow, that was an awesome show with David. Man, David's got a ton of energy. He was getting ready to hop on a plane. So hopefully he stays safe and is able to land safely. But yeah, David shared with us a bunch of great information in terms of, how he was able to amass, up to 900 units. The guy's barely, still in his mid 20s. So a young guy, he definitely shares with us, how, most people, hey, you don't necessarily have to start small. I mean, he went from wholesaling to house hacking, an apartment complex, moving up to 900 units within a very, very short period of time, and started off syndicating. So he emphasizes, making sure that you're studying financials first, having a basic understanding of what's going on, the mechanics of finances and how, it seems complicated, but it's not in terms of the structure of deals, whatnot. Tells us, a little bit about, how he's able to translate some of the tools that he used in wholesaling residential into doing it for multifamily, but also nurturing his relationships with brokers. This is how he sources deals. He still does mailers. They do cold calling. So all of that's still effective for him in terms of getting deal flow going. He shares with us quite a bit about, just his journey along the way and really just taking action. That was my biggest takeaway in the interview with David was, really just not to overanalyze and to obsess about, what could go wrong or what may happen, but you're really just diving in. I mean, they've gone on to now doing new construction in the Austin market, but I mean, he's really not that old of a guy. So please don't make, if you're young, you're just getting started, don't have a lot of experience, throw that out the window. If somebody like David can do it in terms of just being a young guy, he's now raising millions and millions of dollars on his syndication deals. You can do it as well. So, definitely take a second, listen to the episode. And I know you guys will get a ton of takeaways from this one. So great interview with David.
Yeah, absolutely, Steve. And guys, if you're interested in connecting with us, you can go to tricityequity.com or at tricityequity on Instagram. Value in this podcast, please share and give us a rating review on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. We greatly appreciate it. We'll see you next time, guys.
Aloha.